There we go. Okay.
Cool.
Hi, yay.
It's nice to meet you after all of that.
Yeah, you too.
That.
Yeah. So I'm Nicolette Yates, Nicolette Leigh Arts, and you are?
I'm Hannah of High Five Family, or Hannah Bingham of High Five Family.
So we just have a few questions. We're going to sort of quick fire in the time we have. It doesn't have to be that fast, but yeah. So I was curious about your childhood and yeah, if you were creative as a child.
So yeah, my mom is really crafty. And I have like other family members who are artists, but like no one was really around a whole bunch. So maybe it like influences just by genes. I don't know. But I think like hands on, my mom was very crafty. And I had friends who had like one of my best friends in elementary school. Her mom was an artist. And so like I spent a lot of time at their house, like finding out new mediums and things. Just like by default of being at their house. I think I've always been kind of like more creative and like more like in tune to colors, things like that. I guess like, so I grew up kind of like traveling the world a little bit. So
Wow.
I think a lot of that, like just like the colors, like one memory I have so vividly, I was like in the third grade, I think, and we were in the Philippines. And we went to, it's hard for me to remember, but I think it was a Hindu temple. I mean, this is bad, but it might have been a Buddhist temple. Like I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But I just remember like the way the light was filtering in and like just the gold leaf on the like woodwork and all the colors were so beautiful. And I remember that like as one of my first like kind of positive creative like influences,
Wow,
which is really funny. And like it's like seems so like, oh, I don't know, kind of silly and hokey, but like I think that plays a part too, like the fact that I traveled so young and like seeing like new things and new colors. And yeah.
Neat. How old did you say? Third grade at that time?
Yeah, I was in third grade. We started traveling when I was like starting third grade. So
was it for your parents' jobs or?
Yeah, it was my parents' jobs. So my parents' jobs. So I lived in the Philippines and then we moved to Indonesia, and we lived in Indonesia until I graduated high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that plays, I mean, it's hard for me to know really because it was just my life. So it's not like I can't like pick out like, oh yeah, I just so I just feel like it was so normal to me that I'm not like, oh yeah, I just remember the way that they made batik. And I mean, I do have those memories, but it doesn't feel like out of the ordinary for me, like watching women make batik or like the colors in the market. Like, I don't know, it's still hard for me to differentiate like, oh yeah, like I guess people in America don't really see that unless they go on vacation. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, that's my childhood and my creativity. So yeah, kind of always being creative and like not necessarily thinking of it as like a hobby, I guess. Like just kind of like a way of life.
Right. Did you know you wanted to be an artist early or?
Yeah, I think so. My best friend and I, the one whose mom was an artist, she and I like made postage stamps and like traded them in like maybe the fifth grade, I guess. And I had like a series of these, I guess, girls that I was drawing. They had like names and like storylines.
Nice. Yeah.
So I think sort of like, I guess I don't really remember thinking like I want to be an artist when I grow up. I just like any other kid kind of went through like, oh, I'm going to be an astronaut. Oh, I think I want to be Jane Goodall when I grow up. Like things like that. Because I don't know that I like was really around anyone that was like a professional artist, being overseas. So
yeah.
All right, let's just go back and forth. I think that'll be easiest so that I don't take all the time because I tend to overtalk. So just being honest. So I don't know if this is a good question to start on, but I'm really interested in your process. And my second question, I think, goes hand in hand with it, which is like, what makes you want to create? Because I think sometimes like they can be so like not the same, but like they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My process, my current work, it involves pareidolia, which is a psychological phenomenon that I would imagine everybody experiences, but they just might not realize it. It's, you can look at the trees, the leaves, and find faces, or
Oh yeah,
animal shapes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I will put down a layer of color on my paper or wood or canvas, whatever, and then I'll let it dry, and then I'll come back and just see what pops out, and I'll bring it out with usually drawing materials, sometimes painting. I think it definitely always reflects my sort of whimsical and introspective style. Yeah. And I think why I do it, or how it makes, sorry, what was your second?
What makes you want to create?
Yeah. I think at first it was a need. Like, I just needed to have my own space and have like control over something. It was really helpful for just processing life. And I tend to undertalk, so feel free to.
That's okay. That's good. I feel like that was really succinct, and like I feel like I would have just kept talking like unnecessarily if I was asked that question. But I did want to actually, I know we're kind of going like jumping back and forth, but I really I think this will go in line with what you were saying. And I just, because I really want to hear this one right after what you said.
Okay.
My next question is, how do you feel when you create?
Yeah, I feel really free and curious, and really usually happy. If I'm at the beginning of a piece or the end of the piece, I feel like just, endorphins. And but like towards the middle, it's more of a, like a quizzical, unsure place, but I love the whole of it, all of those stages.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I wanted to ask you my second question, because my first question, the initial question, was the process, because I see your art and I'm like, it's so interesting, and I never knew it had a name before, like seeing faces and things, like I mean, not having like, I don't know, but like seeing pictures in other like designs and things, just because I've really liked seeing I don't know, I've always been curious about it.
Yeah, cool.
The way that you create it and why you create it. That's so cool.
Thank you. I feel like as a kid, I would just spend way too long staring at textures in wood, and I would just lose myself in like one image I would find and make up stories about it. And so it's sort of it's a congruent line between childhood things. So,
this one, I really appreciate that like sentiment, because like I was saying, like I do have a hard time like drawing like connections from my childhood with my art. Like people are always asking like, what in your childhood like makes you create? I'm like, I don't know. Like just is like a timeline for me. Like I'm out in space. I don't know. And so it's nice to hear. Like I just feel like that's true. Like there's so much like child in an artist, like there's like of a child's play, and I think a lot. I mean, I won't speak for everyone, but I feel like what you're saying and how I feel when I create, not like connecting necessarily for me, like with me as a child, but just like feeling more like it's very childlike, and it's so explorative and like throwing all inhibitions to the wind. I don't know.
It's true. I don't remember the quote, but I think it's the Picasso quote. Do you know something about
Yeah.
painting like a child, or
Yeah.
I
I know what you're talking
forgot.
about, but I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah. I think I was preoccupied with my childhood for a long time, just like going back into memories and like
Oh, yeah.
feeling more like a child than an adult for so long. So
Oh,
yeah.
why is that? Why do you feel that?
I think I had a lot of um, unprocessed trauma, like lowercase t trauma.
Yeah.
Nothing major, but it became major to
Yeah.
me, as it
Yeah.
can for anyone.
Yeah.
So I just tried to like go back and reprocess things through
Yeah.
art and just in my mind, and yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask about motherhood and being an artist. How old is your child?
He is going to be 2 next month. Oh my word.
Yeah.
Just like, so great.
And
Yeah.
so like between, I have my cat on my lap.
I'm like, hey, a cat butt.
Yeah.
She always comes up here, but
Uh-huh.
I have this like salon chair and she sits on the back of
Oh, cool.
it.
So like before you even had a kid on your mind, before you
Yeah.
had a kid and were pregnant, is there a difference between how you were approaching art then and maybe while you were pregnant and then after? If that makes sense. Or like how has your kid influenced your
Yeah.
schedule and things like that?
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so before he existed and before I knew he was going to exist, I think um, I I don't know. I guess I kind of did like commissions a lot, but like as kind of like more of a fun thing than like a necessity. And so I had so much more time for my own art and like really like exploring like the depth of different mediums. And then yeah, I guess just like discovering what I really wanted to paint, but kind of, I don't know. I feel like after he was born and being at home with him, like staying at home with him and also working has made my schedule so crazy that I feel like I really value like what I do with my time
Mm-hmm.
and what I want to create. And I will say, like, I do commissions more out of a necessity now. So that can be stressful just because I'm at home and I can't. Well, my husband is a musician and he's freelance and stays at home too. So, like, you would think that would make it easier, but it just is like we both have work to do all the time since we
Right.
work for ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like we really have to like sacrifice time to share. And it sounds bad because it's like I mean, I honestly feel sometimes like he's kind of like a second thought, like our kid is a second thought because of how much like we have so many emails to respond to, we have like deadlines we're supposed to meet. So I think like that's really forced me to be like, okay, like I need to really like give time to him and to like spend time like helping him grow and learn. So I think I have spent so much time. And then I'm like also like when he's like falling asleep and can't fall asleep by himself, I'm like laying with him. And so I have all this like introspective time
Right.
to
Yeah.
like think about like what I want to create and
Uh-huh.
like what my deep inner feelings and thoughts are.
Uh-huh.
So I think that it has made my art so much more meaningful. Like
Mm.
the series I'm working on right now, I feel like is so much like deeper than I would have been able to go before because I don't have. I mean, and I think there's like an aspect of being a mom that makes you feel like, at least for me, makes me feel like not like questioning, but like I don't know what the word is, just being more like existentially minded, not necessarily like spiritual or like
Mhm.
religious or anything like that. Just like,
Yeah.
oh my word, like someday I'm going to die and then my kid's going to be without me and like stuff
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
And so like thinking about like what I want him to know and like what I want him to grow up knowing and things like that, I think makes it so much more like, what do I want to like give to the world, you know, with my art.
Nice.
So that's a wordy response, but there
yeah, not at all. That makes sense. I feel and that's great. I love how you ended. Yeah, that's I like that. Sorry. I feel like my having a kid like made me really focus on my scheduling and get more done than I previously was getting done when I thought I was doing a lot.
Right? When you had so much time.
Yeah.
Like, wow. How did I not do very much?
I know. Yeah.
But feel like I was busy all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Had no clue. Awesome.
So I've been to Asheville. So you don't live like directly in Asheville, but you like live in Asheville, right? Like you work in Asheville.
I live in South Asheville. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was just wondering like how it is being, because I know what it's like to be an artist in Knoxville somewhat, but like I just was curious. Like I follow some artists. I don't think I know besides like you and meeting you, anyone like personally who like is an artist in Asheville. So I was just like curious what it's like. Like I feel like there's so much more of a different artistic vibe in Asheville than there is in Knoxville. And like in this region kind of similar, because Nashville is more like, I don't know, anyways. But it's different than Asheville for sure. And Knoxville is, you know, different than Asheville. And I just feel like, I don't know. Anyways, you answer the question instead of me.
I've been to Knoxville once. I don't know how to compare Asheville to other places really, because I lived in Boulder for a minute and I only participated in like one show there. So Asheville, there's definitely a lot of different art mediums and communities. That's been pretty cool to like meet people like in the dance community, theater, art, and digital arts. And I would say I've been pretty much on the outside of it, on the edge for a while, for the majority of the time I've been here. I think it was a confidence thing, and it was like trying to find just what I had to offer, you know, for a while. And now I'd say like the past 2 years, I had made an effort to meet up with friends on Fridays, like during the day, grab a coffee and chat about art. So I feel like I've really strengthened my networks in that way and found more opportunities. Like there's all sorts of things to apply for. So I feel like my calendar is always like really hopeful, like that I will meet all these deadlines. And I feel like there's a lot of local things like that where if I were living somewhere else, it would be less connected. Like I would be applying for things, but I wouldn't know who I was really sending them to. And I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah, I think it does. I guess because what I see from the outside is that there's like a really like, I mean, and I don't mean to say Knoxville's bad, so I'm not trying to say that when I say that, but you know, like kind of like grass is always greener situation. So like, I guess I feel like, I mean, Knoxville has a really good art community. I do think it's different than Asheville from what I can tell as an outsider. Seems so like, I'm not trying to be mean, so it sounds I'm maybe using the wrong words. Like, but I feel like the connections in Asheville, from what I can see, are so like authentic and like really like curious and explorative kind of. Like, I guess my experience with Knoxville is more like it's like a lot about production art. And like that's like not bad or good, you know. It's just like I just don't feel like I fit into it, so I feel like it is hard sometimes to find connections. Like I guess that's why I was wondering about Asheville, because like do I see what it really is, or is it kind of like the grass is always greener, you know?
Yeah, probably a little of both. I think
Oh,
I
probably. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying though. Like there's a level that's missing sometimes to communities, or
Yeah.
like even certain art styles, it's just like surface layer, like
Yeah.
it's pretty and
Yeah.
that's wonderful, but
Yeah.
there's, more to it sometimes. And that really helps an artist like feel authentic. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I think there's both of those scenarios in Asheville as well. But I
Yeah.
guess there's probably more experimentation because the community might be bigger of artists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I can see that.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of people also interested in providing venues for artists.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm moving. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'd like to hear about the layers in your art, that what you go deeper. I'm thinking of your carrot couple.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my favorites that I've seen. I think you did that this year, right?
Yeah, I did a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Time is so, I have no idea.
I know. Yeah, I can't keep track.
Yeah, my carrot people specifically, we just moved in. We lived in an apartment for a long time, and then we had a child, and it was like not realistic to live in an apartment. And so we moved to this house, and there's like a little garden out back. So I finally have my own garden, sort of.
Nice.
From what I can tend to, what time I have to do it. And I grew carrots this year, and I pulled up carrots, and they were like tangled together. And so I was like, oh, that would be so cute if I just like illustrated them as people. And actually, it was for my Patreon, because I do like a digital painting each month for them, and that was for that.
Oh, that was digital?
Yeah, that was digital. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Computers are so weird. I know. Yeah, it looks like paint, but yeah, that was it.
Awesome.
On the Procreate app, I think. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I tried out digital.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Well, my computer died, so that was a bummer.
Yeah.
Like water spilled on the screen, and that was like, great. So I switched to an iPad because I was like, well, I use it so much. Really, what I use my computer for is reference photos for painting. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, an iPad would be so much easier to take back and forth from my like desk to my easel, or like wherever I'm going. Mm-hmm. So I switched to an iPad, and then I was like, well, there's an Apple Pencil. I could do that stuff. Yeah. So it's really like more like trying it out, and then kind of using Patreon to like help me to try out, new things. So not really doing it for any other reason except for just trying it out. Nice. But that was my carrot people. Yeah. You also mean like my actual paintings, I guess. My handmade paintings. I guess those are handmade too, but my I don't know. It's hard. So I never went to art school. So that was one of your questions that you had sent to me. Mm-hmm. I never went to art school. So a lot of it is just like me trying new things out, and like what my like painting teacher in high school taught me, and like my friends who are artists, and just, kind of getting feedback from people. Uh-huh. And so yeah, I just try out a lot of different things. My series right now is about my like relationship with religion, Christianity, and growing out of that, I guess. So my paintings are icon paintings, like saints and like, I guess, saint figureheads in most. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but the Catholic Church, I wasn't Catholic, but so kind of using those as a commentary on my relationship with Christianity, and I think how I view Christianity as a whole, and like the impact on people and on culture. So that's kind of heavy, but so that's kind of the layers of my paintings. For example, the first one I painted was, this is really heavy, but I'll say anyways. It's my it is Saint Anne, and it's the mother bear and the cub, and the mother bear is Saint Anne, and she was the mother of Mary, the Virgin Mary. And so that was my very first painting with the series, and I was really interested in kind of like exploring just like painting bears as saints. Like it really wasn't any, or not bears, animals, excuse me, as saints, and it like really wasn't anything more than that. So it just like kind of became its own thing. Because I was realizing like, oh, I want to name the saint, I want it to be a real saint. And then I was like, oh, what's the saint of motherhood? Okay, Saint Anne is like the mother of all mothers, like the Virgin Mary. And then exploring like bears and like reading about bears. And I read this story about like a photographer was taking pictures of these bears in this river. And there was a mother cub, and we know mother cubs to be like so fierce and like so protective of their children. And then the story was the photographer watched the mother bear, like the cub was drowning, and like the mom just couldn't save the baby and just like left, which was so interesting. So like you would think that she would fight so much, like just like stereotypically what we know like of mother bears, like she's gonna like save her child. And I just thought that was so strange that it just like kind of came together like that, like so naturally. So I was just kind of like exploring this whole thought of like the belief that like Mary was a virgin, and like and like her mom Saint Anne is like a saint. Like why is she a saint? She's like, her child is like a child, I don't know, pregnancy. She's like 14 in the, in the story. Anyways, so that's kind of the layers, the really heavy layers. So that's, I would say, is where my art is going right now.
Do you have a show planned for the series or something online?
I think I do in the near future. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how many pieces I want to be in the series, because it's just like kind of coming to me. I'm not really like forcing it. So, or like I'm not like really like putting out like a time frame for it or anything. But I think I'll have a show probably in the early next year. We'll see.
Cool. I just saw, it was yesterday, some elephants had died trying to save a baby elephant. I think like 6 of them drowned.
Oh my gosh.
That were trying to save the baby. That's so funny that you mentioned that. There's a difference there. Like,
I know. We all think that mother bears are the ones, It's elephants. They're good. They have a good memory. I know that about elephants.
Cool. Well, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna go back and look at your series and
it's different. I feel like it's like, oh, that's a cute possum with weird button eyes.
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
Sometimes I feel like I don't pause enough to think about other people's art, and I need to get back like that.
It's hard, I think, when we're like scrolling through Instagram, And I've been kind of vague though too with my series, because I want it to be an experience, like in person, at the show. So I've been kind of like vague, so that it will be more of like an impact when, I don't know.
Yeah, makes sense.
I was going to ask you about art school, which is good to move on to if you want to talk about it. Because, I kind of answered your question that you said you were going to ask, because I said I didn't go to art school, but I'm really interested. It's not that I didn't want to go to art school. but, so I'm really interested to like hear about your experience.
Yeah, I'm interested in yours too, because I didn't have that experience, and I wish I did. But yeah, so I went to a semester of graphic design because my mom said that that's all she would pay for. Um, but I decided it wasn't for me. So then I went to Australia for 3 months.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I came back and ended up going to Boulder to go to Naropa University, which it's a Buddhist university, Buddhist inspired. And I didn't know what I wanted to do there, but I was sort of dabbling in mixed media, influenced by ancient Greek mythology.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sort of kept me, I was thinking about environmental science, but also art. And that sort of kept me, I don't know, thinking about majoring in art, what I was doing there in the mythology classes. And so then I moved back to North Carolina and I went to UNCA in Asheville. I started in environmental science with a focus on geology. And so I almost have a minor, a minor in geology. But physics got me down.
Yeah.
And oddly, it was one of my favorite classes that semester. I got a D in it though, because of math.
Yeah.
I'm not horrible at math, but some of those I just couldn't like memorize the equations and things. So I jumped over to art and I felt way better about that. So I had mostly really great professors and one who was kind of toxic, but so I love what I learned there, and I feel like I allowed my favorite professors to sort of talk over my shoulder, like after graduating, like they were always there with me. Yeah. And finally I like shooed them away to like focus on, what I wanted to do. And I'll still use a lot of what I learned, but I'll, with a little more confidence than in art school, I'll put my own spin on it.
Yeah.
So I'm not thrilled about the student loans. I think I had a lot of trouble while in college because of my anxiety, holding a job and getting all my work done, because I was really introverted and I feel like I was constantly in fight or flight mode, specifically flight mode. Like I wanted to leave the situation as soon as possible. Yeah. So I ended up doing a lot of my schoolwork at home, where I should have been in the studio there, getting the most out of it. But I mean, all in all, like I really appreciate like the science and humanities and the art techniques that I learned there. But grass is always greener. Like I'll always wonder, like if I hadn't done that, how things would be different. I was at an art market this past weekend, vending, and a kid, she was in her 20s maybe. He came and asked about art school and like what I would recommend, and it was it was a lot of pressure. But like I feel like I want to tell people considering art school that there are other ways. If you can afford it without trouble, I definitely recommend going, just for all the other things you learn. But if I feel like it would be interesting if we put more emphasis on apprenticeships and just like learning from artists who are already doing it. And that used to be the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's probably many artists doing that, but it's not the norm, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are some, from what I have seen, like somewhat of apprenticeships where like famous artists will like have apprentices who like come paint their work. You know what I mean? Like they'll do like copies of the work to sell so they can sell them, and then like the artist makes them money. I don't know. Like I know that of, I can't remember what his name is, what the artist's name is. Something Dwav.
Wow.
Dwav is his last name, but I mean I think he goes by Dwav. But yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I know that he does that where he'll have like prints done, and then he'll do like what are they called, uniques or whatever, where they paint over some of the areas of the painting to bring, or the print to bring texture back to the painting and stuff. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyways, but not in the same way where there was like apprentices like before, you know.
Yeah.
I've always like kind of wondered that, because like my personal experience is that like I'm not really regarded because I don't have an art degree. So like I really have to like, I feel like fight harder. Like I think everyone's fighting, you know, to like, because we're artists. And I think like some people don't see that as like valuable.
Yeah.
Even though they like watch TV and watch movies and stuff, which is all art, and like see advertisements that lead them to or like buy t-shirts. I don't know anything.
Listen to music that has like everything.
I don't know anything that we do. But still, so I think we're all fighting, but I do feel like, and maybe this is just my experience in Knoxville, is that I like don't get accepted to shows and things because my resume doesn't have art school on it. So even though I've been like practicing really hard or like really trying to make connections, like at the end of the day, like a lot of times I don't get the same like treatment as other artists, because, and I do feel like sometimes other artists, and this is my experience in Knoxville, just like other artists who have been to art school kind of like condescend to me. And like I kind of understand that. I can understand this, like, well, I have all this student loan, like these loans that are just like hovering. And I can understand it's like, and you're just doing it and you don't have loans, like that's not fair. I can be like sympathetic and empathize with them, like just like it can be hard, but it is frustrating. It's like, if I could have afforded it, like I probably would have gone, you know, like or if I had that opportunity, but oh wow.
Well, that's a bummer. Oh.
Yeah.
I've had insecurities about, like, I just have a BA in art instead of a BFA or an MFA. I've felt insecure about that too. I don't know if it's actually a thing that has hindered me, but I understand. Like, Gonna make your own show, I think.
I mean, I try do my own. Do my own thing. It's fine. No, it really is. I mean, I think there's, and honestly, and it might be just like my insecurities and anxieties, you know, it might not be like a real thing.
Well,
that, like, you know what I mean? I mean, I think it is, but like, I haven't like asked anyone directly, like, am I not being accepted because I don't have a degree, you know, but I don't know.
Right.
It's just like, I think a little bit of like competitive, like, or feelings, like hurt feelings kind of, because it's like, well, my piece was amazing. Like, it's so powerful and meaningful. Like, and then this artist who got accepted, like, has a degree, but they're painting. It's just, I don't know. I don't. In the event that someone watches this and is like, she's talking about me and my got accepted.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's tough. I think like a lot of upcoming artists like might need more of a mindset coaching too, like in conjunction with technique. Like, and I just wish that skill was, you know, enough. Like, and uniqueness, and maybe things will change.
Yeah, I think it is. I have hope that it is. I mean, and it is in some ways. I think there's only those times where I do get like a rejection letter or something where it's like, oh, this is how it always is, but it's not necessarily,
Yeah.
just
It
like
feels heavier than.
yeah.
Yeah. I save my rejections, and
Yeah.
I like I took someone's advice. I can't tell you who, some podcaster probably, to just feel really good about all of your rejections, because you need a lot of rejections to get to your acceptance letters.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's inevitable. So just count it as like, well, check, next, moving on to the next rejection.
Yeah.
So I can get, to where I want to go. But
Yeah. And that kind of makes it like more meaningful. Like I feel like for me, like made me look at my art harder and like, no, I do feel like really confident about my art, and I feel like I can work harder and I don't know, feel like that doesn't mean anything about my art,
right.
in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So subjective. Yeah. I wanted to know more about your High Five Handy Club.
Oh yeah. Ooh, yeah.
But if we've gone too long, we can.
Yeah, I think my High Five Handy Club is my Patreon. I would say, like, if anybody is ever wondering about whether they should start a Patreon, I just feel like they should do it. Like, several people have asked me about starting their own Patreons, like, how's your experience, blah, 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 and it's been kind of like rocky a little bit, and that's only in like the past year because of having a child and not like having time to really spend with my club, like spend sending them things or like interacting with them.
Yeah.
So like that's one of the reasons I'm just gonna take a break. But I think it's a really exciting experience, and if you can like just like rally people to support you and feel that like support from people regardless of like what you're going to send to them, like that's really, I don't know, that's really special. And I think it's like an art form kind of.
Yeah.
Like it's a creative art form to like figure out like how to get these people to support you on like a different level than just like buying your art, because some people can't afford to spend like a lot of money at one time, but they can give you like installments to tell you that they like appreciate what you're doing and they like you and your art.
Nice.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, yay. And good luck with your new series. I'm excited to see more. Yeah.
I'm excited to see more of yours. That's so exciting. I'd love to hear about like why artists are doing things that they're doing and like giving a name to it. Not like a specific name, but kind of, like a general.
Yeah.
But it makes it so much more like meaningful to me.
Yeah. Same.
I guess that's my questions though. I was going to ask you if you have any like resource recommendations. Like you mentioned the podcast, and I've been listening to the Creative Pep Talk when I have time.
My number one. Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah.
And I've been so like encouraged by it and like excited, like, oh, this is real. Like I can do this. Because sometimes it's so stressful, Like, so yeah, but I was wondering if you had any, like any listen to or read or look at or like artists that you admire.
Yeah. So definitely podcasts have been my number one, like helpful place to go for different things. Because I've had jobs that were kind of mindless, so I could just listen and do my work, my day jobs.
Yeah.
So that's my number one. I would tell everybody to go to. And episode, I think it's 201. I think the image is like keep digging. There's a guy digging a path in the earth, under the earth. That's my absolute favorite. I was going to get a tattoo related to that episode.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah. So I might still, but I haven't done that yet. And then let's see. So this is it's not art related. Some episodes are. Kathy Heller's podcast. Do you know her?
Her name sounds familiar, but
it's Don't Keep Your Day Job.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard that referenced before.
her podcast has been one of my staples over the past few years. It has been super helpful for the business side of things.
Yeah.
And mindset as well, building confidence and things like that. There's so many. The cat who does Create Magazine, I can't remember her podcast, but, and maybe I got her name wrong, but Create Magazine, I'm so bad with names. It's ridiculous.
No.
She's got a good one. And then Yoshini, his podcast, forgot that name. It's really layered, like meaningful. Like it's less about business, more about the meaning behind the art.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I could probably email you later, like the actual names of these things. Yeah.
Maybe a Google with those keywords will help. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. If I scroll through my phone later, I'll see like a million more. I'll send you some. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. This was fun.
Yeah, we should meet up sometime in real life.
I think we're coming to Asheville soon, so.
Oh, really? Cool.
We love Asheville.
Yeah.
We be outdoors, and Asheville is so outdoorsy friendly.
It is, yes. Well, yeah, just get in touch.
I will. This was so fun. Thanks for chatting, hanging out, and yeah.
Of course. Thank you. You have a good day.
Thanks, you too.
See ya. Bye.